Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Katarla Taylor, and I'm an event specialist in the Communications and Public Affairs Division here at IFPRI. I am delighted to welcome all of you to this discussion on the 2017-2018 Annual Trends and Outlook Report, Boosting Growth to End Hunger by 2025. This event will discuss the findings and recommendations on successful implementation, filling knowledge gaps, and policy implications for the design and rollout of social protection programs in Africa. We have an exciting program lined up for you, so without further ado, I would like to call on Ousmane Badiane, who's the Director for Africa at IFPRI, to give his opening remarks. Ousmane.
Thank you, everyone, for coming to the policy seminar today. I'm Bailey here, just get from the airport after a 14-hour flight, so I'm not responsible for anything I say. But I'm happy to have you here and to thank Katarla and others who put this program together and our participants who came from afar to join us here. The seminar today is based on the publication that you see here, and I want to talk about it a little bit. It is produced by the Regional Strategic Analysis and Knowledge Support Systems, which is one of the flagship programs of the Africa Department here at IFPRI. Every year we bring out a report that is focusing on a topic that is of strategic importance to the African Union agenda in its member states. And then we organize a conference to discuss that so that policymakers, civil society organizations, and other stakeholders are exposed to the latest evidence in that area. So this was a report from last year and a bit of publicity. The report for this year is going to be on gender, and it's taking place in Togo in West Africa. I'm sorry, it is, yes, it's on gender, right? The one this year. Okay, thank you. So why social protection? Of course, I mean, every country in the world has something to do in that area. But in African countries, I would think is even much more urgent for one simple reason. Although those countries are now among the fastest growing in the world, they have, just before the growth spell started about 20 years ago, they have gone through 2.5 decades, a minimum of 2 decades of stagnation and economic decline. And during that time, the number of poor and vulnerable people just skyrocketed. So the growth that's been taking place over the last 20 years is nowhere close to having a real big impact against that huge number of vulnerable and poor people, a number that grew up very, very rapidly, given rapid population growth. So therefore, what we need to do now is to see how beyond the growth that we have now, how we can reach many of those and bring them into the benefits and the gains from faster growth and reduced vulnerability. It is a high level goal of the African Union to end hunger by 2025 and other similar goals. What we would like to, however, emphasize, and you hear it in the report here, and that's why also the title, if you're a developing country, high level of poverty, and you're growing, and you don't have all the resources you need, then social protection is just not an entitlement, it's also an investment in people's capacity to contribute more to growth in the future. So we see social protection not just as a way of bringing people into the growth process, as a way of reducing hardship and improving livelihoods, which is also as an investment in the future. It is also there's another reason why social protection is really, really important in African countries. There is not a lot of experience in terms of government policy in the area of social protection in Africa in general. Outside of Ethiopia and South Africa, and maybe a little bit of Morocco, it's really, really, really very recent. We used to have the traditional pension schemes. We relied a lot on family relationships and networks. All those are dwindling rapidly. The pension is not going to be enough. Very few people have access to it. But the family networks we had are dwindling. And poverty, which used to be a rural phenomenon, has reached the urban centers because of population growth and urbanization. With open, pluralistic, populistic, democratic systems, the poor will be politically more vocal, and they will ask for their rights. So failing to address the issue of inclusion and social protection may lead to social instability and political instability in the future. So not just the high level of poverty we started from, and the fact that people will be much more vocal. There is, based on those two, a greater sense of urgency in Africa to deal with social protection and issues. So I'm very happy that if you look at the report and you listen, I'm sure, to the panelists here today, you'll hear the different facets of the issue and the challenges, what's happening in the countries, who is making inroads, what are the lessons for the future, so that we will be in a future of faster growth, hopefully in Africa, but also future of inclusion, and a future where we will be more successful and more effective in devising and implementing social protection programs that will help us end hunger, malnutrition, and a lot of other things that are related to poverty. So thank you for coming here and spending your time with us, and we look forward to your questions in the discussion. Thank you.